Standard, at least in terms of the amount of people involved, the amount of inspectors involved. You can tell me whether or not they tend to be well trained and well experienced. But I'm guessing that human nature being what it is on such expenditures, that we probably cut corners on that.
Oh, Jim, this is a great area because I do a lot of construction law cases. In New York, obviously, we have tons of major construction, and unfortunately, a lot of construction workers get hurt. And what I find again and again over decades is that these large construction companies have a lot of inspectors and they have a lot of safety plans and everything is written up nicely and the inspections are allegedly done. And the corner cutting is done at every turn by the biggest companies on the biggest buildings. And what you just said is right. It's human nature. You want to get the job done faster. There's more money in it if you finish it faster. There'll be no contract penalties, and people don't do what they're supposed to do. And unfortunately, in construction field, as you know, when safety doesn't come first, people don't just get hurt, people die.
Here's a call from Christopher in upstate New York. Hello, Christopher.
Hey, how you guys doing?
We're fine, thank you.
Okay, I just got a question on the workman's comp thing. My wife works for comp in New York, and so I got a good background as a contractor for 28 years. One of the things is if they start doing comp on the coronavirus, you can do comp on the flu. You can do comp on a cold. And that will totally bankrupt the state and everything else. So that's a consideration to take into consideration with this crazy thing. You don't know where.
All right, well, let's let our guest respond, and then you, if you have a follow-up, we'll go ahead. But go ahead, Richard.
Yeah, Christopher, the common cold and the flu are not going to be the kind of occupational illnesses that the workers' comp court is going to entertain, so you don't have to be concerned about that. They have certain types of occupational illnesses. COVID is going to be one of them, obviously, but they're at a very different level. So I wouldn't be concerned about things like cold and the flu being adjudicated in a comp court. That would be silly.
Fair enough. More to come. 1-866-50-JIMBO, our number, 1-866-505-4626, as we talk with attorney Richard Bell. Just how legally protected are you when you walk back onto the work site? Back in a moment. Welcome back to the Jim Bohannon Show at 1-866-50-JIMBO, 1-866-505-4626, as we are talking with attorney Richard Bell about your rights at the workplace before the law. What about, although I guess this is probably not your principal, well, let's say your focus in your legal work, but what about the rights of the company? That is to say, if somebody is creating safety problems at work, how does the law protect employers from employees who may, by various forms of behavior, be dangerous?
Jim, in places like New York and California and many other states, we have what's called an at-will state, which means that an employer can fire you for no reason at all, as long as it's not discriminatory. So that's how those situations are dealt with. If you're told not to do something, you're doing something, or you're doing something sloppy, that's enough. You can be fired unless you have a contract and there's no discriminatory reason for it. You're out.
Now, in the next and potentially final coronavirus relief package, the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has outlined new details of what he would like to see in that package, including a 5-year liability shield for businesses. And I'm wondering your thoughts about that notion.
Sure, Jim. In these situations where immunity is called for, whether it's business immunity in this context, or there was a movement for nursing home immunity at the beginning of the pandemic, I think here's the problem. You're basically saying to businesses, you can be negligent, you can do bad things, you don't have to conform with standards, and you're not going to have any consequences. So to me, I look at it as if you're going to allow wrongdoing by having no consequences, then really you're encouraging the wrongdoing. So I think it's just wrong. I think we should just have a level playing field. Most employers are not going to have to worry about it. Number one, because they're going to play by the rules, and number two, we're not going to be able to prove there was causation anyway. So I think we should just have a level playing field, and it will shake out. Will be fair to both the employers and the companies, and to the customers and consumers.
All right. And in terms of the general level of let's say, accidents that occur on the workplace, do we handle those well these days? I mean, you could look at something and you could say, well, it happens. Maybe it's hard to lay the blame specifically on the employer or on the employee. Is there a lot of that?
Yeah, well, like I said, Jim, so this is done within the workers' comp system. And like I said, since the employee has been his right to sue the employer is taken away because you're in that system, it does lean more towards the employee, but it should, because it's a kind of an uneven relationship. He doesn't get the control that the employer gets. Are there abuses? Sure, there are abuses. Are there errors? Sure, there are errors. Are there some bad judges that make some bad decisions on both sides, employer and employee? Yes. But net, it's a fair system, certainly in theory.
Do unions help or hurt the situation?
Okay, this becomes both a political issue and a legal issue. From my standpoint, it helps the situation, because when you have a union, at least you have someone speaking for these employees that if they came up as individuals, nobody will listen to them.
In your work, do you tend to deal in large judgments? In some cases, it seems to me that we find, in particular damages cases, that there is a view on the part of juries, and I served on a couple of damages juries. There is the view that, hey, give them the moon. It's not like anybody's paying for it.
Oh, this is exactly what I do for a living, jury trials in personal injury cases, the type of which you obviously sat on. And this is what I can tell you after decades of doing this. You have to come with the goods. When you read about something in the newspaper and it's some kind of outlier and it's millions of dollars for something that sounds silly to you, that really is an outlier. Because I find that jurors really try to be fair. And they try to evaluate the evidence for both sides, and they try to come up with what they think is fair. And I have to say, in all my years, I haven't been happy with every verdict, and I've been very happy with some and less with others. But I'd have to say, because we get to speak to jurors afterwards in New York, that they always come away trying to have done their best. So I think net the system really does work, and obviously the media has the outliers. That's easier to report.
On the two cases I served on the jury, one I was the foreman. These were medical damages cases. We were lay people, and we sat there and listened to these professional doctors, expert testifiers, and we're like witch doctors trying to pick a shuttle launch window. And in each case, we said, well, let's go with the plaintiff, but not as much as they want. Did we render justice? I have no idea. I do know that we tried. And I also know that doctors on that jury would have been able to sort out the BS from the fact. We tried, and I have no idea if we rendered justice.
Okay, number one, you rendered justice because you all tried to render justice, and that's what the goal is. Justice is whatever those six people, if it was a six-person jury,
12-person,
came up with. 12, you had 12. Okay, we have 6 here in New York on civil. In terms of if you had a group of doctors there, I guarantee you it would have been 6 and 6. There would have been opinions all over the place. That's why we have lay people listen to it, because you're judging their credibility. Yes, you might get lost at points in the scientific aspect of it, but if they're good testifiers, then they'll put it into lay language, and you should understand it.
And one other quick complaint I'll note, and then we must take the break, and that is they wouldn't let us take notes. And I really objected to that, wrote a letter to the judge afterwards. Anyway, stay on the line. We will speak off air. Again, we're talking with attorney Richard Bell and looking at the kinds of protections that the law affords you in the workplace. We'll be back here at Westwood One. How do you do? And good evening. Welcome to the Jim Bohannon Show from Westwood One Radio. We're at 1-866-50-JIMBO, 1-866-505-4626. Online, find us at JimBohannonShow.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Jimbo Talks. The Texas Republican Convention, and each state has these conventions, was originally slated for next week in Houston. That's been canceled now, at least the in-person event. Correspondent Clayton Neville says that Houston city officials canceled the contract amid the recent surge in pandemic cases.
Houston Mayor Sylvester Turner urged officials with the Republican Party of Texas to cancel the event out of concern it would pose a public health risk to attendees and convention workers, with close to 6,000 people expected to be there for 3 days. The party didn't cancel, insisting it had safe protocols in place, and the mayor stepped in.
I'm not going to abdicate my role as the mayor of this city to protect the health, safety, and welfare of every single person.
He said it was his duty to intervene.
We closed down the Houston Livestock Show and the rodeo, and this convention is no greater or better.
Texas GOP Chair James Dickey has contended from the start that holding the convention in person would be a big part of its success.
Our convention process is crucial election activity.
Dickey said protocol like temperature screenings and social distancing had been put in place, but that the mayor continued to pressure the party to cancel.
Trying to shame us and our sponsor. He listed a litany of demands. We have already put in place most of those things because we've been working hand in glove with his staff at the convention center on these exact precautions for weeks.
For Mayor Turner, that wasn't enough.
Even if you did all of those things, it still would not prevent this convention from being a clear and present danger.
No word on specific plans moving forward, but Texas GOP officials have indicated they've talked about a contingency plan for an online event. I'm Clayton Neville.
We would also note, by the way, that several Republican senators say they will not attend the Republican National Convention to renominate President Trump. That will be in August, mostly in Jacksonville, Florida. Portions of it will be in Charlotte, North Carolina. I know that's a little complicated, but among those not attending, Senators Chuck Grassley of Iowa, Lamar Alexander of Tennessee, and Susan Collins of Maine. Also not going per their staffs are Senator Mitt Romney of Utah and Lisa Murkowski of Alaska. Of those senators, Grassley, who is 86, is the only one who has said flat out that he's not going because of the pandemic. And he added that this will be the first time he has missed a Republican convention in 40 years. So for what it's worth, we pass that along to you tonight. And we'd be interested in hearing your thoughts about that. Virtual conventions, I must tell you that we're fortunate, I guess, from the standpoint of the politicians, in that there is no contested convention. Not such as, for example, we saw in 1976, for example, for the Republicans in Kansas City, and in 1980 for the Democrats in New York City. It would be hard for me to imagine how you could hold a contested convention in a virtual environment. I'm just not sure how you would do that. Conventions are all about pressing the flesh, all about people who are meeting with other people, buttonholing them, if you will, in the aisles and the lobbies and this sort of thing. Smoke-filled rooms, although these days, of course, not as much smoke, but the concept is still the same. And it's, again, Donald Trump obviously gets renominated, no fuss, no muss. And likewise with Joe Biden for the Democrats in what was a very contested convention right up until the South Carolina primary.